Well, I think current AI is an obsolete technology. If you want ideas are intrinsically measured by their surprisal. If everything I tell you today you already know, no information's being transmitted. Information, as Claude Shannon defined it, the founder of information theory, is measured by unexpected bits, by the surprisal in the information, and by the degrees of freedom in the source of the information. And so the current AI architecture is a singularity model. They talk about that. It's located in a few giant data centers. It's located in a few giant data centers. And
I mean, isn't there some risk to?
And it has a model of a singular truth, and so it's almost barred from surprise. It is barred from true creativity, which is unexpected fruits of imaginative flights. That's what human progress depends on. It doesn't depend on some gigantic pattern recognition machine. And so today AI is about, with its based in a few big data centers dominated by refrigeration, air conditioners on their roofs, is the same state that the computer industry was in back in the 1960s, when the IBM Mainframe era, when IBM claimed that 14 mainframe computers could rule the world, and that was all the computers we would ever need, and they would solve all human problems. And some people actually believed they'd attained consciousness back in the 1960s. And now we have 14, essentially, rather than 14 mainframes, we got 14 gigantic data centers. And they're going to give way to millions of AIs in everybody's smartphone or teleputer, if you want, distributed as widely as human minds are distributed.
How about the risk that those who are already dictating the canceling, the censorship, that are skewing, for instance, ChatGPT, even version 3, if you were to ask certain questions about the Arab-Israeli conflict, they wouldn't put anything critical in there or any responsibility on the Arab-Muslim countries.
Yeah, they're afraid. These are they don't feel any threat from Israelis. They feel threats from jihadists. They don't want their data centers bombed.
Well, isn't that how fascism takes over?
That's how fascism takes over. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But I just I wrote a book called Knowledge and Power, but right after the Israel test, I wrote Knowledge and Power, and progress only occurs to the extent that power is distributed as widely as knowledge is. If you concentrate all the knowledge in a few data centers and centralize the data and centralize the power, it's a prescription for paralysis and stultification of your culture and your economy. You need to distribute power as widely as human minds are distributed.
Are we heading in that direction?
I think so. I think that already I have a whole bunch of companies in Israel and around the world, but the biggest focus is Israel. And these companies are creating small containerized data centers that rather than having gigantic buildings next to glaciers and icebergs or whatever, they have the size of a personal computer and soon the size of a smartphone. You'll be able to, but to do this, you gotta overcome the thermal wall that's currently blocking silicon electronics. Everything heats up too much. If you have these NVIDIA chips running 340 watts or something, everything overheats, and that's, graphene, this is a single layer of carbon atoms that is, companies are popping up all over Israel pursuing a graphene economy. It's a single layer of carbon atoms, 200 times stronger than steel and 1,000 times as thermally conductive as silicon, 1,000 times as electrically conductive as copper. It's a fundamental breakthrough in material science by Jim Tour, who's a Jew for Jesus, if you want to know.
Did he start off as a Christian, or did he start off as an Israeli?
He's
a Jew.
He's a Jew who converted to Jews for Jesus.
Okay. In America?
In America, he's one of the leading scientists in the world today. He's a great advocate of his 14 of his companies are in Israel, but his lab is in Houston, a Nobel laureate lab in Houston. Used to be run by Richard Snelling, and he took it over. And he's a great genius, and of the new carbon age that's emerging. He changes. He and one of his leading students has converted garbage, any kind of carbon-based garbage or plastics, or to pure turbostratic graphene, which is graphene with all the properties of pure carbon, and by the ton, he's reduced the cost of producing graphene from some $200,000 a ton, and it was a lot more than that, but now down to as low as $30 a ton. So it's just a radical change in the history of material science that has originated from Jim Tour's lab in Houston.
What do you think will happen to America and American technology and investment if Israel becomes, for instance, pariahified if they're forced to act against the Biden administration's dictum
It will. I sincerely believe that if we do fail Israel, it'll be such a catastrophic moral failure for America that it will be the end of our great era. Our economy will be gravely undermined. You know, all these companies we hear, Facebook, Google, IBM, whatever, many of their greatest labs are in Israel. Google's got a huge lab in Israel. Intel which is the major American semiconductor company we depend on, has all its best fabs and best design centers in Israel. It's got its first great wafer fab was at Kiryat Gat. Israel is really, Intel, which is the absolute leading American semiconductor company, with the possible exception of NVIDIA now, but Intel, really bigger than NVIDIA, is effectively an Israeli company.
Do you feel that the
And so if we really did lose our ties to Israel, our own technology economy would be, I say in the Israel test, I say it would we'd lose half our wealth and over a predictable span.
do you see Israel as somehow comparable to Taiwan in terms of its importance to the Western economies?
I think it's a lot more important than Taiwan. Taiwan is a manufacturing center, and it's very productive and terrific manufacturing center using Israeli and U.S. technology.
Taiwan, right, is a manufacturing center, but
what Taiwan has the two of the biggest wafer fab companies. That's microchip manufacturing companies in the world. World leader. It originated at Texas Instruments. It spun out of Morris Chang's. Wasn't made president of TI, so he went back to Taiwan and started TSMC. And there are others, and there's a whole culture now of thousands of little packaging companies and material science companies, but they're all part of this old model of silicon semiconductor electronics that I believe is now hitting this heat wall. And Israel is bailing out the world by being a leading pioneer of graphene, which is 1,000 times as thermally conductive, and and Jim Tour, who heads the major U.S. laboratory in the world for graphene, is close ties to Israel. His leading venture partner is Ariel Malek, who's Israeli,
But Western civilization has lots of examples of going to a country that where the people may be nice, but we're interested in the natural resources. So once we get that commodity,
natural resources are baloney, as Israel shows. I mean, Israel has no natural resources. The Islamists think that Israel benefits from natural resources or from exploiting them or something. They're utterly delusional. Yeah. Israel thrives because of its imaginative and creative power and the image of our Creator.
So you mean it's more than just the graphene technology, but the ingenuity that
Sure. The graphene technology is another phase of technological evolution, and it happens that, as in the nuclear phase, as in most of the previous phases, Jews have had an absolutely central role. It's just a historic fact, and it's happening again with the new generation of graphene. Is all I'm telling you here.
But this isn't the end of ingenuity and innovation to come from that region, which could be jeopardized by politics.
It could be jeopardized by politics, but you know, I kind of think that we're as dependent on Israel for our defense as Israel is on us. I don't think there's some great special dependency of Israel on the United States. I think the United States is dependent on Israel. We just don't know it.
And the way that this administration and the lapdog media, mainstream media, depicts it, what do you fear?
But I get around, and I think that there's kind of an optical illusion been created by the kind of elite media, and it's that actually you find the people in this country are actually doing things, and they understand the world better than the media hallucinations. The media is, in AI, they've discovered now that AI hallucinates. It just invents facts, and but AI is a product of the internet and the media, and it's really just repropagating the endless hallucinations of our inebriated media.
You mean the Democrat Party line?
No, it's Democratic Party line. It's this corruption. I write about it in Life After Capitalism. It's the materialist superstition. It's the belief that somehow economics is an economics of scarcity. That when one person wins, another person has to lose. That it's a zero-sum fantasy of economics and culture, and the belief that humans are a plague on the planet. That's